check. There we go. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Just a reminder, if we could just silence cell phones for the meeting, if you don't mind. And let's get it started. We're going to call the meeting to order at 9 a.m. on September 27th. I can verify that we have met the meeting notice requirements. I can verify that we have a quorum of the board. President Cheryl, Chip Harrington, Joe DeGrow, Jackie Kane. First order of business is the acceptance of the resignation of Roger Gifford from the Corey Board of Directors. Do I make first motion of acceptance from the board? Do I have a second? Open for discussion with the board. No discussion. Any discussion from the audience? Okay. All those in favor from the board? Motion passes unanimously. The board appointment to fill the vacant director seat. May I have a first from the board to nominate for Jerry Solomon? Do I have a second? We will now open for discussion with the board. Michelle, you.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming at this early hour. Normally we try to hold the board meetings a little later in the day so people who are still working can attend, but we have a board workshop scheduled today along with members of the Finance Committee that begins at 10 and will likely be a very long meeting today, so we decided to just put this board meeting, since we had some important information to communicate ahead of the budget workshop, so that's why the meeting is held at 9 today. First of all, I want to thank Roger Gifford. He isn't here today for his many years of service to both the QTC, the Corey Transition Committee, as well as serving the Corey Community Association on the Board of Directors. Some of you may know Roger is still involved working. He has a family-owned ice cream making and distribution business up in Maine that serves the East Coast and keeps him very busy. And especially at this time during Hurricane Irma and the aftermath, Roger submitted his resignation. He just isn't able to spend the kind of time that he feels he needs to with the Board of Directors. So he submitted his resignation, and it is effective immediately, and as just discussed, approved by the board. We have selected Jerry Solomon to be appointed to Roger's vacant seat. Jerry Solomon and his wife Sheila have been full-time Corey residents since 2016 and reside on Corey Drive. Jerry retired in 2014. He held the positions of CFO and VP of Operation positions simultaneously at 3 middle market manufacturing companies that served the global marketplace. He is recognized in the lean community as an accomplished thought leader, educator, and practitioner. Jerry authored the Shingo Award-winning book, Who's Counting? It's a highly acclaimed business novel focusing on the interaction of the manufacturing and accounting functions during lean transformation, and also Leading Lean, a novel about a 3-day lean event. Additionally, in collaboration with Professor Rosemary Fullerton, he authored Accounting for World-Class Operations, also a recipient of the prestigious Shingo Prize. Jerry was the Maryland Leader of the Year in 2013. He is a founding thought leader and subject matter expert in lean accounting and has been teaching and practicing lean accounting and manufacturing for over 3 decades. Jerry served on the Board of Directors of the Maryland World Class Consortium. He is a board member of Tanglewood Conservatories and is an AME examiner, a Shingo Prize Research Board examiner, and a frequent speaker at major manufacturing and lean conferences. Jerry has also served as the co-chair of the QCA Finance Committee since April 2017. Jerry's educational background includes a Master of Business Administration, the University of Chicago, a Master of Science degree from Michigan Technological University, and a Bachelor of Science degree from Clarkson University. So I would like to introduce Jerry. I think many of you know him from frequent presentations that he has made at previous board meetings on our financial reporting. So Jerry, if you could come up, please, and say a few words about yourself.
Thanks a lot, Cheryl. I don't know what I'm going to say, you just said everything. But good morning, everyone, and thanks for coming out this morning. As Cheryl said, my wife Sheila and I have lived in this great community since last September, and just love it here. And this past year, I've had the pleasure of co-chairing the Finance Committee, working in conjunction with Jackie Cahill and the rest of the members on the Finance Committee, which has really been a great experience and exposed me at least to get to know what's going on at the quarry, get familiar with some of you, and really that's the kind of work I want to continue if you do elect me to this board position. I'll try to make this simple. I want to continue the work that we've done on the Finance Committee, and that's why I was so pleased when the board came up and asked me if I'd fill Roger's vacant position. I have three very simple goals, or principles you might say, that I operate on. And they are respect for people, transparency, and ownership. And I just want to take a couple of minutes to explain what those three things mean. I certainly don't expect all of you to be conversant in accounting. Boy, it would be a boring group if we all were. So therefore, my whole career I've tried to make the numbers easy for people to understand. And that's what I've written books about, that's what I speak about across the country. So that's what it's all about. That has always been my goal. And I also believe that's the most respectful way to treat people. Give them information in a way they could understand it. The second principle is I want the financial affairs of your community to be transparent to everyone. Okay, that's critical. Therefore, I'm always committed to let you know financially where we have been and where we're headed. That's our responsibility. And so hopefully I have the opportunity to share that information with you on a regular basis. Finally, I believe in ownership. And what does that mean? It means ownership of the information by the people closest to the action. Okay? It's not my forecast. When I do stand up here and give you a forecast of what we expect to do for the full year, it's not my numbers. It's not the board's numbers. It's all of our numbers. Okay? We all own that information. If you run the beach club, you should know the beach club numbers. Okay? If you, likewise, if you're responsible for maintenance or landscaping or whatever it is, you're part and parcel of this community. You should understand the numbers. You should be responsible. You should be able to explain them. It's going to take some time to get there. I mean, Adam and Eileen know me already. I think when they see my golf cart pull up and heading to the office, I think they all go out. There must be a back door. They all leave the back door because they know I'm going to ask a lot of questions. But they've been very helpful to me, and I do appreciate that, so thank you. But the questions won't stop now. Okay? So it's one team. We have to work together to deliver timely and accurate information for all of you. We can't outsource the information to someone else. It's ours. Okay? And we can't outsource it to two people in the office. It's everyone in the community that's responsible for an area. Cheryl explained a little bit about me. I won't go through that again. I just want to say I'd like to continue working for you. I would appreciate your support, and I hope I can meet your expectations. Thank you very much.
Jerry? Any further discussion from the board? Any discussion from the audience? Okay. All those in favor of the board, signify aye. Motion passes unanimously. We welcome Jerry Solomon to the board. like to have a seat at the board table, that's up to you. The next order of business is to fill 2 vacant officer positions that were vacated by Roger when he resigned. The first is for the vice president position. Do I have a nomination from the board to fill the vice president position?
I nominate Joe Boudreau.
A nomination for Joe. Do you have a second? Jack Bill gives a second. Discussion from the board? Discussion from the audience? Okay. All those in favor signify with aye. Motion passes unanimously. Joe Boudreau is now the vice president of the Board of Community Association. Next, we'll fill the secretary position. Do I have a nomination for the secretary?
Chip Perry.
Hey, Matt, right? For the secretary, do I have a second? We have a second. Discussion from the board? Discussion from the audience? Okay. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Welcome to Parrington as secretary. The next order of business is a post-Hurricane Irma update. Cheryl's going to take the lead on that one, and we'll be back afterwards to give you more of the status and data full too. Sure.
Okay, we want to take some time to provide you with information concerning our 2 biggest items of concern that are contained in our lawsuit against Pulte Syntax that were exacerbated by Hurricane Irma. But first, we wish to take a moment to again convey our gratitude to the entire community for how everyone really pulled together to help their friends and neighbors in this time of need, both prior to Irma and in the aftermath. There were many, and I know that some of these same individuals did not want any type of special recognition. But I would like to ask those individuals to, if you're in the room today, to please stand so that everyone can give you the recognition you deserve. And that goes for several of my fellow board members as well. Please stand.
Come on.
Again, thank you so much. You did so much to get everyone in a position to weather the hurricane. First, I would like to address landscaping. As many of you know, part of the lawsuit against Pulte and the subcontractors concerns our landscaping. The agronomist report, completed in 2015, concluded that limiting site and soil conditions were not properly evaluated, considered, or mitigated by the developer during site development. Species choice and placement of plants was not properly considered in many of the common areas. Many of the plants are poorly adapted to caserious soil conditions and exhibit poor health, are unattractive, and will likely require replacement well before their normal lifespans under industry standard conditions. The report goes further to say the HOA will have to bear the additional cost to maintain landscaping to an industry standard, which should have been, could have been avoided had the developer properly considered the site conditions and limitations and taken corrective action during landscape design and installation. This is but one example of the conclusions reached by the agronomist. Again, this was back in 2015 when this report was completed. If we fast forward to Hurricane Irma and consider the many areas and oaks that were lost, just like many of the trees and plants throughout the quarry, they were placed directly into lime rock soil, preventing roots from going deep and instead remaining shallow and spreading out horizontally. And that is why you see so many of the fallen oaks taking out so much sod when they were uprooted. The agronomist further concluded that most landscape species in the quarry exhibited severe micronutrient deficiencies, defoliation, and dieback. These are some of the reasons why landscaping issues are a big part of our alleged defects against Pulse Centex. It was quite emotional seeing what happened to our community with our landscaping. And again, this is one of the big reasons we knew this was going to happen with a significant storm, which Irma certainly was. And I credit the QTC, previous boards, the current board for all their work that they are doing to keep these issues first and foremost with our litigation and the action against Pulte. We would like to recognize Cintron. I don't know if I heard Cintron may be here today. Is there somebody from Cintron? And we have Jose Cintron, the owner of Cintron, AJ, and also Chad, who are here today representing Cintron. But Cintron took unbelievable efforts in cleaning up our community. They were here in force the day after Irma, when many of their workers did not have power or had sustained significant damage. Yet here they were at the quarry, helping all of us in our community out. The massive cleanup efforts, of course, come with a big price. We've already received approximately $250,000 in invoices in just 2 weeks. And this, of course, does not even contemplate the stump removal efforts and replanting. Some are asking about replanting. Our current governing documents are somewhat obscure and ambiguous about replacing dead plants, but going back to when Pulte was still in charge and what has been continued is that we have replaced dead plant material if it was part of the original builder landscaping, not owner-enhanced landscaping. However, for the past few years, the previous board, as well as the current board, believe that this must be changed. The association cannot continue to replace plants and trees at owner sites into perpetuity. We will likely be looking at proposing a change to our governing documents in February to strike this obscure language and cease the practice. There will be more to follow on this, and Adam will be discussing more on the landscaping schedule in his remarks. Next, I'd like to turn it over to Chip Harrington to talk about our lake shoreline.
Thank you. First, I guess most of you know that I have been concerned about the shoreline, not just the riprap, for several years. Is this working? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good. I'd like to address, this is our biggest cost to date out of the effects of before Irma and after Irma. What happened with the shoreline is not just the riprap, it also affected people that had a soil boundary with the water. So this is an issue that has continued since I've been here. And it has a improper design, which we've been fighting for some time. Before me, I think the existing board members that were before me have recognized this and instituted reports that recognized that the design had problems. This was exemplified basically in February and March of 2016 when we had windstorms that were less than 30 mile an hour sustained winds. We got damage on the northern part of the shore, which opened up also holes in the rock, which exposed the underlayment. And the fix that came from the Quarry CDD was to have these holes patched in the summer of 2016. So basically, we just did they did a cosmetic patch of what was. Now, the responsibility for what everybody needs to understand for the common area here lies mainly with the quarry CDD. We are responsible for the maintenance of the items in the quarry. The quarry CDD is responsible for the repair and build of all the items in the quarry. So under this, where we just had a major hurricane, this is really with the quarry CDD. Now, we've had several meetings with the quarry CDD to discuss what our concerns were about the design of the riprap and shorelines. The gentleman that designed this, Josh Evans Engineering, it is Josh, is also the guy who is the quarry CDD's engineer for determining yearly inspections of the shoreline. Now, it's kind of a conflict of interest, as we saw. I mean, we've tried to get them to recognize this fact and go to a more marine experienced individual who has experience with both riprap, seawalls, and shoreline. Let's just say that it didn't go over very well, and we had to fight this for some time. For those of us that are on the lake and have been impacted, the fix properly along the shoreline isn't going to just be with the riprap, or it's going to be with all areas, because what was affected was because of the winds that we got from the hurricane. As most people know, hurricanes are counterclockwise. And because we got the eye of the storm that passed over us, the winds that came out of the northeast and north were the ones that impacted the southwest part of the lake in the beginning. As the eye went through Naples, the winds reversed and we started to get them out of the southwest. That's when most of the damage on the North Shore was caused, and also on the northeast. We had waves that were probably 3 to 5 feet, and I'm going to tell you, as I peeked out from my shutters, I could see that much damage. I was surprised that my dock made it, even though it was completely bent, and it took a 10-inch steel pipe. We have 2 of them that lead to a gangway. It actually bent that 10-inch steel pipe. So the force of this hurricane was enormous. The legal counsel that we have taken steps to address this issue. We are now getting them, they're going to be recommending marine engineering specialists that will be coming in here doing a survey of what the damage has been and to see what we can do to stabilize the shoreline before the permanent repair can be made. In the interim, we're asking that boats stay at idle speed indefinitely until we can get the place repaired. Now, I know that will be an inconvenience for a lot of people, but it is to protect the shorelines that have been damaged. Up on the areas that have been hit where the soil is taken away 3 feet of my soil and up to 10 feet of other people in here's soil, I can promise you it has eroded underneath the sod, and you'll start to see more and more of the sod caving in if we do not prevent waves on the lake. So we're taking this as an effort to prevent further damage, and we appreciate your complying with this. We've also instituted a new ad hoc committee that was done to be our interface with all the community and all of the engineering and legal aspects and the quarry CDD. It's the Lake and Shoreline Stabilization and Reconstruction Committee. Boy, that's a lot of words. And it's hard to put on one sentence, I can tell you. So that's being headed up by Mike Horn. Tim Jerzyk is going to be his vice chairman, and John Kensler, I think, is going to be the other gentleman that will be helping out with it. If you are interested in joining this committee, you can send your request to quarryshoreline adhoc@gmail.com. So that's a request if you'd like to join his ad hoc committee. It's up to him to choose. This is all based upon their committee to select and appoint. Let me just say I want to ensure that everything we do now will be to protect all people that are in the quarry. Not just on the shoreline, not just with the plants. We're going to do everything we can to bring this back to be greater than it was before. It's going to take time and money. This is not going to be a cheap endeavor. The shoreline will be our biggest cost. We don't even have an estimate yet, but my guess is right now, if I look at it, I think we have like 1.5 miles of shoreline that's been damaged. If we get winds in the future from different directions, other areas will be impacted. So what we've got to do is not just offer selection of repair for the ones that were damaged this time, but to plan ahead for future issues. Because this is very important. Not just what happened to the people today, but what can possibly happen in the future. We're definitely motivated to make sure that that is part of our design criteria. To follow my notes here. I think all of you have been informed about the updates from First Service. There is a no-wait mandate again, and we are also doing what we can to notify you with updates as they come about, and we will continue to do so both from the board and from First Service. During the litigation in accordance with Florida statutes, and per direction from Ball and Janik, our legal representation, we must hold a vote by homeowners to proceed with the lawsuit. Adam is currently working with the association attorney, Richard DeBose, to develop the language and to set up electronic voting. It appears that what we need at least 30 days in advance timing for the electronic voting to be scheduled. We have prepared a summary that will accompany the ballot to explain the importance of an affirmative vote that is needed. The estimate to totally repair our community assets has not been evaluated, as I mentioned earlier. But the cost will most likely be in the multi-millions. The cost to repair and rebuild will have to be paid for by all homeowners unless we can recover some or all of the cost from damages with the Pulte Syntax lawsuit. If the lawsuit is not approved, the cost will be ours alone. The extent of our future cost to live here rests solely in the outcome of this election. We have already spent approximately $100,000 on legal costs, fees and engineering reports to support and evaluate our claims against the developer Pulte Syntax. We are in the process of negotiating a hybrid contract with Ball and Janik and the shared cost of our lawsuit. The hybrid method will share a percentage of the cost and outcome with our legal team. And we'll get into more of that later as it becomes more firm in what we're seeking. We know that you will all have questions about this, as we have too. And this action, and we will have a meeting in mid to late October to discuss the action in more detail as it becomes firm. Thank you for your attention on this. But please recognize that this vote is important if we're to try and get anything back from the developer to be able to pay for some of what we're having to fix. I want to thank all the homeowners who went to extraordinary lengths to work with me and other members to help solve some of the problems that we had both post and pre-Hurricane Irma. I'd like to ask Adam to provide his update, which he will have an opportunity for questions, and I'll ask the forum. But before turning it over to Adam, I'd like to take this opportunity on behalf of the board, and I believe our sentiments mirror these of our homeowners, to thank Adam and all those at the staff for all their outstanding leadership, getting everything ready for the hurricane and also following the hurricane. So if you would, please, let's give it. wait. Good morning. As Chip explained, you know, we do need to have a no wake, and that's what we're going to have to enforce. By doing so, we're going to put a resolution together that's going to fine voters that do not follow this policy. And fine will be through money, and it will be through amenities suspension. It's the only way we can stop this erosion from going on that's already as bad as it is. So this resolution that I'm going to propose to the board is as follows. We, the directors of the quarry, whereas the shorelines of Stone Lake and Boulder Lake have been further compromised and damaged and severely hit by Hurricane Irma to such extent that some homeowners have lost significant property resulting from the destruction of the riprap. As a result, all quarry homeowners were advised by the property management company, First Service, in written communications immediately following Irma, the entirety of the quarry lakes and the designation of the no-wake zone until further notice. I say that any person in violation of this directive in accordance with the Declaration of Covenants, Conditions, and Restrictions for the Quarry, Section 11.3, Rules and Regulations, be fined, which shall not constitute a lien upon the owner's allotted property, and the suspension of the right to use common area, including without limitation the beach club, until such time as this directive is rescinded. That is my motion to you as a board, if we could follow through with this.
Is that what we're doing?
First and second.
Need a first? First. Need a second. All in favor? Any questions?
I'll just add that having done marine law enforcement in another state, there's already, at least in other states, voters don't recognize often the damage caused by their wake, but they are responsible criminally and civilly for all damage as a result of that. So in that resolution, it might be beneficial to possibly consider saying any fine imposed by the quarry is separate and apart from criminal charges that may be filed against them, as well as all civil suits filed against them for their actions causing damage to property here within the quarry. That's where the big money comes from. The $500 or $1,000 fine is small change compared to getting charged with the immense damage